Welcome to Shatter.
Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. We were sitting at a small table in an olive garden when she said it, laughing, twirling her straw through her drink like it was nothing. Let's fake a breakup for content. The room went quiet for me, even though the place was full of noise. People laughed, plates clinked, a kid screamed in the back. And all I heard was that one line. She looked at me over her phone, waiting for a reaction. I didn't give her one. I just said, nah, let's make it real. Her smile froze. For the first time in months, she put her phone down. You'd think it started with cheating, but it didn't. It started with hashtags, captions, and followers. Emily lived through a screen. Every moment had to be staged, lit, and filtered. Our dinners weren't dinners. They were content opportunities. I'd set up her tripod, fix the lighting, make sure the shot was right. I was a video editor, but at some point, I stopped cutting strangers' stories and started cutting ours. She'd post a funny couple moment on TikTok, and the comments would flood in. He's such a good sport. She's out of your league. You're lucky she even keeps you. I'd laugh with her, pretend it was fine. But somewhere between the likes and the tags, I started to fade out of the frame. One night, she went live from our kitchen, laughing at something her followers said. I stood just out of the camera's view, watching her perform. My husband's the quiet type, she told them, but he's learning. The chat exploded with heart emojis and laughing faces. I looked at her, not the version the world saw, but the real one. Tired eyes. The way she flinched when the screen went black. She wasn't talking to me anymore. She was talking to them. After that night, I started noticing things. The way she'd scroll Amazon at midnight, hunting for the next aesthetic piece to match her feed. The Target candles that filled our house with scents, but no warmth. The constant ping of notifications, her new heartbeat. She didn't cheat with a person. She cheated with attention. Every like, every comment, every share, it was another hand on her shoulder. Another whisper saying she mattered more online than she ever could in our living room. So when she said, let's fake a breakup for content, I just nodded. Not because I agreed, but because, for once, I wanted her to feel what I'd been feeling for months. The silence after the upload. The stillness when no one's watching. That night, she posted a story. Sometimes love just fades. It got 50,000 views in an hour. By the time she checked her phone again, my side of the bed was empty. No text, no scene, no goodbye, just absence. And for the first time, the silence was mine. When I left that night, it wasn't a storm. No shouting, no slammed doors. Just a slow, deliberate silence. I took my keys, my laptop, and the hard drives she never knew existed. The ones with all our raw footage, the unfiltered moments she never posted. Her phone was still glowing on the nightstand, streaming the comments from her last story. Hearts, tears, fire emojis. People she'd never met mourning a breakup that hadn't even happened yet. Not until that moment. I drove until the city lights blurred, until the road hummed louder than my thoughts. I stopped at a 24-hour Waffle House on the edge of town. The waitress didn't look twice at me, just poured black coffee and left me alone. It felt strange, being somewhere that didn't need an audience. No ring light, no captions, no pretending to be relatable. Just quiet. By morning, my phone was a graveyard of notifications. Missed calls, messages, tags. She'd posted a video titled, "He Really Left." I didn't watch it. I didn't need to. I knew how she'd frame it. A heartbreak montage in soft lighting. Her tears perfectly aligned with trending audio. The comments would console her, blame me, call her strong. And maybe she'd even believe it for a while. But here's what no one saw. The woman behind those edits. The one who used to crawl into bed at 2 a.m., drained from pretending to be happy. The one who measured her worth in views, who needed constant validation just to breathe. I'd seen her at her most human, crying over a broken SD card like it was the end of the world, smiling through panic attacks on live streams, apologizing between takes when she thought I wasn't listening. For years, I told myself it was just a phase, that she'd find her way back. But every time I reached out, she reached for her phone instead. It was like trying to hug a reflection. All surface, no weight. So I made a decision. No grand announcement. No revenge. I just erased myself from her digital world. I logged out of every shared account, deleted my tag history, took down the couple's channel she'd built our image on. The algorithm would forget me long before she did. When I checked her page a week later, she was glowing again, rebuilding, thriving, finding herself. Every caption sounded like a line from someone else's script. But in her eyes, hidden beneath the filters, there was something new. It wasn't sadness. It was the first flicker of fear. Because for the first time, she was performing to an audience that no longer included me. It took her 3 days to realize I wasn't coming back. Not because she called. She didn't at first, but because she started posting. Every few hours, a new video, a new caption, a new version of the same question dressed up as strength. Some people can't handle a strong woman. If he wanted to, he would. Healing looks good on me. Each one more desperate than the last. Each one trying to convince the algorithm she was fine. I watched in silence, through a private account she didn't know existed. Not to spy, just to understand what she'd become when no one contradicted her. It wasn't my Emily anymore. It was a persona built from attention. Her eyes didn't smile, but her followers never noticed. They flooded her comments with validation, the same digital sugar that had kept her numb for so long. I used to think attention was harmless. Now I saw what it really was, an addiction dressed as love. Meanwhile, I started deleting everything connected to us. Our couple vlogs, our anniversary posts, the clips she used to caption forever. Gone. I wiped my digital fingerprints from her story. It wasn't to hurt her. It was to reclaim silence. To make space for something real. A few of our mutual friends reached out. People from her influencer circle. One of them, a photographer, said she was worried about Emily. Not because I left, but because engagement had dropped. The breakup content is getting old, she told me, like it was weather. I just said, then maybe it's time for her to live something worth posting. At night, I drive to the same Waffle House, sit in the corner booth, and open my laptop. I started cutting footage again, not hers this time, but mine. Moments I'd filmed quietly over the years, her laughing without posing, cooking barefoot in the kitchen, falling asleep with her phone slipping from her hand. I wasn't sure why I was doing it. Maybe I wanted to remember who she used to be before she started performing. Maybe I needed proof that she was once real. One clip stood out. She was sitting in our living room, hair messy, no makeup, no lights. She looked straight into the lens and said, half laughing, "Promise me if I ever get lost in this, you'll pull me out." I'd forgotten that moment. But watching it now, I realized I'd done exactly what she asked, just not the way she meant. That night, I closed the laptop and finally stopped checking her profile. She wanted followers. I wanted peace. Only one of us got what we came for. The first time she called, it was almost 2 weeks after I left. Her number appeared on my screen, glowing quietly in the dark, but I didn't answer. Not because I was angry, because I knew the voice on the other end wouldn't be hers. It would be the influencer version, polished and rehearsed, reaching out because the silence was hurting her metrics, not her heart. I let it ring until it stopped. The next day, she posted a story. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. Her followers flooded her with love. They had no idea what she'd really lost. I moved into a small apartment above a hardware store on the edge of town. It wasn't much, but it was quiet. I bought a cheap desk from Walmart, set up my MacBook, and started freelancing again. Editing videos for strangers felt easier than editing our life. At night, I'd sit on the balcony with black coffee, scrolling through job listings and trying not to check her profile. But every now and then, curiosity won. Her feed was still bright, perfect lighting, perfect angles, perfectly hollow. Then one evening, something changed. She went live and her hands were shaking. Some people just disappear, she told the camera. No warning, no explanation. Her voice cracked on the word disappear. I recognized that sound. It wasn't performance, it was panic. For the first time, she was breaking character and thousands of strangers were watching. The comments exploded with sympathy. But what hit me wasn't her sadness. It was the realization that even her pain had become content. After that stream, she stopped posting for a few days. No new videos, no stories. I thought maybe she was finally stepping away, breathing, healing. Then one night, a mutual friend sent me a link. "You should see this," he wrote. It was her new post, a compilation of our old clips. Laughter, road trips, anniversaries. Our whole life, remixed with a sad piano track and the caption, "He left, but the memories didn't." It had 1 million views in 24 hours. That was when I understood. I hadn't just left her. I'd left the version of us that the world owned. She didn't miss me. She missed the narrative. The comments were her new comfort. The strangers her replacement for connection. And as I watched that video, it hit me. She hadn't lost me. I had finally stopped being part of her content. For the first time, she was alone with her real life. And she didn't know what to do with it. I stopped watching her after that viral post. I told myself it was for peace, but the truth was simpler. I didn't want to see her turn our memories into marketing. Every laugh, every hug, every look between us had become background music for her followers. I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. That kind of exhaustion that doesn't touch your body, only your soul. But silence has a strange way of spreading. A month after I left, she reached out again. Not with a call this time, but with a delivery. A small package left at my door, no note, just a flash drive. Inside were raw video files. Our old projects, the ones I'd helped her film before everything fell apart. I loaded one out of curiosity. It opened with her sitting on our couch, speaking to the camera in a voice I hadn't heard in years. "If you're watching this," she said, "I guess I pushed you too far." She looked smaller somehow, like the screen finally showed her real size. "You were right. I turned us into a story, and I forgot you were a person." Then the video cut to black. It should have been a turning point, but instead it felt like one more performance. Because the next morning, she posted the same video online. Cropped, edited, soundtracked. Her apology became content again. Her followers applauded her growth. The same people who once celebrated our breakup were now celebrating her healing. And there I was, watching from a distance, realizing she didn't know how to stop performing even for herself. Meanwhile, something shifted in me. Clients started noticing my work again. My edits had more weight, more stillness. One director messaged me saying, "There's emotion in your cuts. Feels lived in." He was right. Every frame I shaped came from what I'd learned. That silence tells a better story than noise. One afternoon, I stopped by Target to grab groceries, and I saw her face on a digital ad near the checkout. "Empowerment through authenticity," it read. I almost laughed. She'd turned her downfall into a brand. But I also saw the emptiness behind that slogan. It wasn't power, it was survival. That night, I realized something. I didn't need to erase her anymore. The internet would do it for me, one new trend at a time. Her followers would move on to the next heartbreak, the next shiny story. And when they did, she'd finally face the only audience that ever mattered, herself. And maybe that's what she feared most, the silence that couldn't be edited. By the third month, her fame had started to fade. The numbers slowed, the comments thinned out. Even her followers seemed tired of the same captions, the same self-love speeches under perfectly staged photos. That's when she reached out again, this time not to me, but to the people around me. My old coworkers started getting messages from her, asking if I was okay, if I was seeing someone, if I'd moved on. They told me she sounded concerned. But I knew what it was. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about the silence. I didn't respond, but I started noticing something strange. Her new videos weren't as polished. The lighting was off, the edits rushed. She looked restless, distracted. And once, for a split second, she looked right into the camera. No filters, no pose, and I saw it. The same emptiness that had been building for months, finally reaching the surface. She wasn't angry that I left. She was terrified that I'd done it without looking back. Around that time, I got an offer from a small studio in Nashville. They wanted a full-time editor, steady pay, real projects. I took it. I packed my things into my old truck and drove out of town without telling anyone. No posts, no updates, just gone. For the first time, my life didn't need an audience. The drive was long, quiet. I stopped once for gas, grabbed black coffee from a McDonald's, and watched the sun rise over the highway. There was something sacred about that silence, the kind you can only earn by walking away from noise. When I got to Nashville, I rented a small place with blank walls and heavy curtains. No ring lights, no tripods, just space to breathe. 2 weeks later, she posted again. I didn't mean to see it, but someone sent it to me. She was sitting in her car, crying softly, saying, "It's crazy how people can just disappear, like they never existed." The irony was painful, because I did exist. She just never saw me until I stopped showing up. That video didn't go viral. It barely got noticed. No trending sound, no clever caption. Just a woman talking to a camera, finally unfiltered, and for the first time, no one cared. The silence she once filled with attention had turned against her. And watching her fade from the feed, I realized I didn't take anything from her. I simply gave her what she wanted, an audience. Then I left her with it. Months passed before I heard her name again. Nashville had a way of erasing the noise, just long roads, music spilling from bars, and people too busy living their own stories to perform them. I'd built a quiet rhythm. Work, coffee from the same Starbucks on the corner, edits that didn't need captions. My life was smaller now, but cleaner. Real. Sometimes I'd catch myself scrolling late at night, thumb hovering over her profile, then I'd stop. I didn't need to know. Whatever version of her existed now wasn't mine to recognize. But silence, no matter how deep, always finds cracks. One morning, I got an email from a producer I used to work with. She reached out, he wrote. Wants you to help on a new project. Says it's about closure. I stared at the screen for a long time. Closure. For her, even grief had to be content. I didn't reply. A few days later, I got curious. I searched her name. The results shocked me. Her videos were getting darker. Less makeup, less energy, more honesty. She talked about anxiety, burnout, losing herself online. I built a world where I didn't exist anymore, she said in one clip, voice trembling. Now I don't know who I am without the camera. I almost didn't recognize her. This wasn't the girl who staged our dinners or timed her tears. This was someone unraveling. And the comments? They were different too. Colder. Fewer hearts, more advice. Strangers telling her to move on, take a break, stop chasing pity. The same audience that once worshipped her was now impatient. Attention is loyalty with an expiration date. One night, she posted a story, her driving alone, headlights cutting through rain, a song humming low in the background. The caption said, "It's quiet without him." I didn't know if she meant me or the noise. Maybe both. Still, I didn't reach out. Because I knew this silence was the one lesson she'd never fake. Without the audience, she'd have to face her own reflection. And I wasn't about to interrupt that process. I closed my laptop, turned off my phone, and sat in the dark, the city humming softly outside my window. For the first time since I'd left, I felt something close to peace. Not victory, not revenge, just distance. The kind that can't be posted, measured, or performed. And maybe that's the cruel truth of it all. I didn't disappear from her story. Her story disappeared without me. It was a gray morning when her name appeared again, this time in a message from an unknown number. No emojis, no filters, just a sentence. Can we talk? Off camera. I stared at it for a long time. The phrase hit different. Off camera. It felt like an admission, or maybe a surrender. Still, I didn't answer right away. I made coffee, opened my laptop, tried to work. But the word stayed with me. Off camera. The one place she'd never really lived. By afternoon, I gave in. I replied, 1 hour. Same Olive Garden. It felt poetic, in a way, ending where we'd started. That evening, she arrived before me. No lights, no makeup, no phone on the table. Just her, small and uncertain, tracing the rim of a water glass. For a moment, I saw the girl I used to know, before followers, before filters, before everything became an act. She said quietly that the numbers were gone. Sponsors dropped her, brands moved on, even her fans turned against her. They wanted my pain until it got real, she said. Then they stopped watching. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. She went on, explaining how she'd tried therapy, meditation, even deleting her apps, but none of it filled the silence. It's like living in an empty theater, she said. All those lights, and no one left in the seats. When the waiter came, she ordered coffee and didn't touch it. I watched her hands shake as she spoke, not from nerves but from withdrawal. She was detoxing from attention, and I realized, in that moment, this wasn't about us anymore. It was about the world she'd built around herself, a digital home with no doors, only mirrors. Then she looked at me and said something I'll never forget. You were the only person who didn't want something from me. There was no performance in her tone, no pause for effect. Just truth. It hit harder than any apology could. When we left, she asked if I'd ever forgive her. I told her forgiveness wasn't the point. You just have to stop performing long enough to see who you really are. She nodded but didn't answer. As I walked to my car, I looked back once. She was standing there, staring at her phone like it was something foreign. Maybe for the first time, it really was. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to save her. Some stories don't need a sequel. They just need silence. After that night, I didn't expect to hear from her again. We had said everything without really saying much. But a few weeks later, a video of her appeared in my feed. It wasn't on her main page. Someone else had reposted it. She was sitting in a small apartment, bare walls behind her, no ring light, no filters. Just her voice. "I built a life around being seen," she said softly. "And when no one was watching, I didn't know how to live." Her tone was calm, almost detached. For the first time, she wasn't trying to go viral. She was confessing. I watched the full clip in silence. She talked about the addiction to validation, the way it rewired her brain, how every compliment became currency and every silence felt like death. She said she lost herself chasing numbers, and the worst part was realizing she'd turned her marriage into content. "He didn't leave me," she said. "I left first, every time I picked my phone over him." That line stayed with me, because it was true. The comments were different this time. Not pity, not applause, just quiet respect. People writing things like, "Finally, something real. This hits too close." I've been there. The irony was sharp. Honesty became her first post that didn't need to perform. Meanwhile, my own life had grown in a direction that didn't need her shadow. I had steady work, a small group of real friends, and a routine that didn't require validation. I'd learned the quiet value of things that didn't glow. Early mornings, long drives, meals without cameras. One night, as I drove home, my phone buzzed with a notification. She'd tagged me in a post. Just a photo. Her sitting by the window with a cup of coffee, no caption, no hashtags. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't bait. It was acknowledgement. A silent thank you. I didn't respond. I just looked at the image for a moment and then turned my phone face down. Some messages don't need replies. Some apologies don't need words. The next day, I deleted my private account. No trace left of the past. Not out of bitterness, but because, for the first time, both of us had stepped out of the frame. In a world built on endless noise, our silence was the only thing that still meant something. Time passed quietly after that. The world kept scrolling, chasing new stories, new faces, new noise. And somewhere in that digital current, both of us disappeared. Not dramatically, not tragically, just faded out like the end of a video with no outro. I stayed in Nashville, working, living a life that didn't need to be documented. Sometimes I'd think of her when I saw a couple filming themselves in a cafe, staging laughter for strangers. But it wasn't nostalgia. It was understanding. I'd been that man once, the one trying to hold something real in a world obsessed with pretending. Then, one evening, I saw her again. Not online, real life. I was at a small diner just outside the city, the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and old stories. She walked in alone, wearing a simple sweatshirt and jeans. No camera, no phone in her hand. She didn't see me at first, and for a moment I studied her in silence. She looked different, lighter somehow, like someone finally breathing in their own air. When our eyes met, she smiled. Not the practiced one she'd used for years, but the kind that reached all the way up. She walked over, stopped by my table, and said, "Hey," just that. No script, no agenda. I nodded. She asked if she could sit, and I said yes. We talked for a while, about small things, not the past. She told me she was working part-time at a community center, helping teens learn video editing. "It feels good to teach them the real side of it," she said. I could hear the sincerity. She wasn't trying to rebuild an image. She was rebuilding herself. When the check came, she reached for it, but I covered it. She laughed quietly. "You always did that," she said. "Some things don't change." I shook my head. "Some do." It wasn't a line, just truth. Outside, we stood in the parking lot under the yellow lights. She hesitated for a second, like she wanted to say more, then just whispered, "Thank you for letting me fall." I nodded once. It's the only way people learn to stand. She smiled again, turned, and walked away. No cameras, no audience, just footsteps fading into the night. As I watched her go, I realized the final truth of it all. She didn't lose a husband. She lost the version of herself that couldn't exist without an audience. And I didn't disappear. I just stopped showing up where I wasn't respected. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe, it only gets stronger from here.